We have with us a very simple table, and this table has 9 columns, A to I, and it contains different types of data. If we notice the first 2 columns, here's how I can select the entire column by clicking on A or B. So the first 2 columns I'm selecting, these mostly only has text. It's different from these columns which have numbers and not text. We will come to this special case in a little while so that we can discuss what this is, but mostly these two are text and these are numbers. So let's look at it closely. By default, in a spreadsheet, when I type text, it gets left aligned, and if we notice that these numbers, this is the entire cell, and this number is sitting to the right side of the cell, that's called as right aligned, and these columns A and B has text which is left aligned. These are also referred to as text in row 2, but they have been formatted in such a way that it sits in the center. But by default, when we type something in a spreadsheet, it is left aligned. So let's move on and see how many different types of data this spreadsheet contains. The first thing that we can notice in column C is that the type of data here is currency. We know when we look at this that we're talking about 22.5 rupees, and this is 300 rupees. And the reason why we can see that is because the rupee symbol is prefixed to these two numbers. Let's look at column D. Column D is a little different from column H, though both of them contain numbers. Column H has no decimal places. Column D has 1 decimal place, because over here units required are always in numbers, and over here weight can also have decimal places. So here I choose to show the decimal place, here I choose not to show the decimal place. That's the slight difference between column D and column H. Column E is unique in a way that it can only contain either true or it can contain false, or what we call as Boolean values, true or false. And let's see how we will see how we can format cells to contain Boolean places. Column F contains dates, in this case 21st and 21st of August and December 2017. By formatting a particular column or a cell as a date, we can clearly read it as a date. We'll see different types of formats in the near future. We will see how the date can be formatted differently. Over here, this contains percentage, 43 and 57%, which is percentage of total budget, and these we have already seen. Let's look at the advantages of formatting something as text or number. When we format something as a number, we can use simple arithmetic formulae to make changes to the formula. For example, over here the total price is a calculation of 200 into 22 rupees and 50 paisa, giving us 4,500 rupees. If the price, unit price of milk goes up, let's say it goes up to 23 rupees 50 paisa, this has to automatically change. So let me press the enter key and see how it will impact the total price. It went up from 4,500 to 4,700, and hence also the total went up to 4,700, and it had a ripple effect also on the percentage of the total budget, because all of them are linked in the spreadsheet. We can't do this kind of manipulation if the cell is not formatted as a number. We can't have arithmetic formulae on playing on these cells here or these cells here, because they are formatted as text. How do we format a cell as either a currency or a number with decimal places or without decimal places, or a Boolean value or a date or a percentage? Let's take a quick look at that. To format any cell, there are many ways to do it. I select the cell first. Let's say I type a number 47. Right now, because this entire column has been formatted as currency, it's automatically assuming that this is 47 rupees. But let me show you how I can format this cell into different categories. So I right click and I can click on format cells. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to select the cell and click on format and choose cells. As you notice, the shortcut is Ctrl 1 for that. So let me click on cells, and I'm given this dialog box where under the numbers tab I will be able to format this into different categories. Right now, by default, because I've formatted the entire column as currency, this is assuming that it is 47 rupees, and I'm getting a preview here. But I don't want 47 rupees, I want a simple number, so I choose number. And now the rupee symbol is gone and it looks like 47. If I click OK, the same change that appears here in the preview will also be applied here. I don't want to do that right away, I just want to explore other options before I get there. So I've chosen 47, but how will I increase the decimal numbers? Let's say I want to say 47.0. So I can do that by choosing decimal places here under options. Right now it's blank. I can choose to make it 1, and we notice the change, it's become 47.0. Or if I make it 2, 47.00. And that's how I can control the decimal places for a particular number. So let's say OK, and now this looks fine, 47.0. So this is how column D, and this is also how column H has been formatted as simple numbers. If I want, there is also a shortcut to reduce these decimals, and those are these two icons here: add a decimal place and delete a decimal place. Let me go back to 47 without the decimal places by using this icon here. Delete decimal places. 1, it became 47.0. One more and it will just become 47. Now let's say I want to format this as a currency. How do I do that? I right click, format cells, and instead of number I choose currency. Now you notice that I get a preview here, rupee symbol prefixed with 47 and with 2 decimal numbers. I leave it as it is. But if I'm not talking about the rupee symbol, and if I'm talking about the dollar symbol, or if I'm talking about a pound or so on, I just need to go in this list and choose appropriately the kind of symbol I want to choose. Let me just change it just for a demonstration to show how it looks in pounds. GBP, and it adds the pound symbol there. Click OK. 47 pounds. Let me change it back to the rupee symbol. And now it's back to the rupee symbol. Then that's how this column C has been formatted as rupees. Now let's say I don't want rupees, neither do I want these numbers. I want this to be formatted as a date. So let's look at how we can format something as a date. Right click, format cells, and I choose date. And if I click OK, the number 47 becomes a date. And the date it becomes is 15th of February 1900. This is a little tricky, but once you want a certain date, you will be able to type the entire date and then format it. Let's make some changes to that. So let's say this is 15th February 1900. Let's say I want to type today's date, which is 2017, August 11th, and press the enter key. Now it is 11th August 2017. I personally sometimes don't prefer this format, and the reason is because some people read the month first. Is this November 8th 2017? And some people read the date first. Is it 11th August 2017? For which I personally prefer a different format. Let me show you that format. I prefer this one, which is 11th August 2017. This way it's very difficult to be confused about what the date is, so I personally prefer that. So you can have your own preference. How do you do that? Again, format cells, and we can choose, instead of a shortcut, we can choose the entire thing. Now I see some hash symbols here, though I have the date here, and this usually represents the amount of space here in column C is not enough to show everything that's in it. So I need to increase the size of this cell. I can do that by dragging the column C, and now it's better. It's visible now. Let me put it back. Now it looks better. So we have seen how to format as currency, format as number with decimal, without decimal. We've also seen how we can format it as date. Now let's see how to format something as a percentage, like in the case of these two numbers, 44%. Let me choose this and let me delete it. Let's say I want to type 45%. One thing we need to remember about percentage is that it has to be represented in decimals, and then it will convert that into a percent. For example, if I type here, or let me come to this column here, let me want to represent 45%. If I type 45 and press enter, or if I directly format it as percent by using this shortcut here, of course I can also format cells and choose percent from here. I could do that, but if I choose the shortcut here to make it a percent, what it does is it becomes 4500%. So let me show you that. 4500. That's because percentage expects us to type in only the post decimal numbers. So 45% is represented by 0.45. I press enter. Now it looks as 45%. That's something that we need to remember. We don't need to remember this when we are dividing something. For example, what percentage is 4,700 of 10,700? And the way to do that would be to divide 4,700 by 10,700, and we would get perhaps 0.44, which is represented as 44% here. But when we're directly typing percentage, we need to just remember to type in only the decimal places and not the entire number. So in this video, we have seen how to format something as text. By default, all text aligned to the left, and how to format something as numbers and different types of data, including currency, numbers with decimal and without decimal, percentage, date,